All right, what up, committed musicians? This is a guitar that's in A, and it's really cool. Like, I guess honestly, as a musician, like, I didn't really understand open tunings. I tried with open G. I wanted to play slide. I just couldn't figure it out. Like, the patterns were different. I had already learned, you know, the 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 major and minor pentatonic patterns, or basically type 5 pattern. I can't play it on this one. And that one is a tenor guitar, which is tuned in fifths like a violin. But one of the cool things that you can do is just keep your tuner on, like just invest in like 20 of these batteries, these 2023s, or what, whatever yours takes. Make sure it's bright, and know your notes. I have a video that I'll link to about not noodling, that it's so important to, if you are gonna noodle, know what the notes are that you're noodling with around. That the reason why scales, for some people, and how they gravitate towards guitar virtuosos and stuff like that, or they see the patterns, right, is their pattern recognition is advanced, and they've just decided, okay, I want to freaking learn this. I want to learn how chords and scales match up together. So with this open tuning, this A tuning, you have A, C sharp, and E right there. So basically, these two are D strings, your 6th and 4th string. And I'm looking right here. I want to make sure, right? These are G, right? And then there's a B and a D. So I'm getting a lot of, just for instance, like, I'm gonna play you guys something, and it just, to me, I've wanted to, like I said in the beginning, I've wanted to take my guitar out of open tuning, and put it back into standard, but it's almost like having a bunch of different capos, right? And so essentially it's deciding what intervals you want your string courses or sets of strings to be, right? How I look at it is like, all these on the top, these are the bass drum. That's your right foot. And your left hand are these strings, right? Strings 3, 2, and 1. So it should be boom. So yes, you can memorize these patterns, but like, you can memorize those patterns, and yes, they have like a 1, 3, 4, a 1, 3, 4 sort of fingering to them. I'll put my second finger out of the way. It's really important in videos that you can actually see what the fingers are doing. And that's a very percussive part, but it's like, right? If you can't play the right hand technique, the left hand logic, the left hand patterns, the scales, right? The underlying chords that you're creating from those scales and those weird little things that I was doing, right? It doesn't mean a damn thing, right? And so your personality, right? Your freaking personality is gonna come out more in your right hand than it is your left. Your left hand is logic, your right hand is inspiration. It's kind of the reverse for like left-handed musicians, or people who do things with their left hand. I started out writing with my left hand, and because I went to a Catholic school, they would hit our knuckles and be like, no, don't do that. Put it in your right hand. And so they would force my pencil. And I was writing with a pen at home. So I was like, why can't I write with a pen at school? Like, I really want that. I want the fluidity and basically the ink stream. Like, to me, it was always like a tough thing for me to hear pencil or graphite on paper, on anything really, especially construction papers. So, but just kind of digressing back to, caveating back to, like, basically a riff. I mean, really, it is about harmonization with the bass. So, and the bass is very rhythmic, which is what ties it to, and just like I said, that the bass is strings 6, 5, and 4, right? The snare, right? It's 3, 2, and 1, and it's boom. Right? Even if I'm doing a down strum on that instead of an upstroke, right? Like, weird tunings, right? I'm trying to do like a minor roll off and hammer on, pull off sort of thing. Right? It's just not happening because it's a different tuning. But that that style of strumming, right? And I realize my guitar's not in tune. So I just want to check, right? Like, you can literally train your ears wrong to tune a note wrong and think it's right. And then you're learning wrong. Like, you're sonically actually training your ears to be inconsistent. And that sucks for your musical progression, right? The procession of notes that goes by, like, you really have to analyze those. You really have to be in the zone and know where you're at on the fretboard. And that takes a lot of not sexy stuff, and a lot of not sexy practice, a lot of hard freaking work. And like, there was a point before my music degree that, like, I loved everything about music. I truly did. I would die for it. But I didn't love the unlovable parts of music. You know, about, you know, just music theory, right? And so it's just, it was so silly. It's like, you know, I think about, like, people that play GTA 3 or Grand Theft Auto, you know, like, you have to have a map in that game, right? Like, if you don't have a map, and sometimes maps are unlocked in games and stuff like that, so, or sometimes you can only see a certain area, or the bad guys are coming in and they just show up as red dots, right? That is a system of learning. You've learned through that map. And so music theory is that same map, right? It plots you. Where the hell are you at, right? Musically, where the hell are you at? And where do you want to go? Like, write that out. Like, I know I sound like I'm upset, but I'm pissed at the person that I was before I loved the unlovable parts of music. You know? And it just sucks, like, because I can't go back there. But I took that immersion journey and I embraced the suck. And it sucked. It really sucked. I was the last person in my class. But at the end of it, after dozens and dozens and dozens of people just fell by the wayside, people that had been playing band for so long, knowing the notes, knowing how to sight read way better than I ever could, they dropped out. One of my professors, I'll never forget this. She's like, she's talking about my military service, and she was just like, I don't care that you have a GI Bill. I don't care that your education is free. I was like, if I was a Marine, I would have educated her a little bit, but she had the power to fail me. She made an example out of me, and what I learned in basic training was the same thing that she was doing. She was basically trying to thin the crowd and weed the people out that were going to make the band weak and that weren't going to try and that were going to fail. So she was intensely hard on them. And I think we started out with somewhere around 53 people. We didn't have enough chairs to get into the theory room. By the time we graduated, I think we had maybe 8 to 12 people. And I signed up for everything. I signed up for lessons on my instrument, on guitar, on my major, for my degree. I signed up for trumpet. I signed trumpet lessons. Like, I had a buddy who gave me a $400 trumpet, and I was able to sing taps for a veteran's funeral, for a Vietnam veteran. Actually, no, that's a lie. My buddy Doug did the funeral. Yeah. And it was such a small town. Gosh, that's wild. I was fully prepared to play taps. Wow, that's wild. It's like when you decide to do something, and there's veterans out there that they were just forgotten, And so, like, I vowed to myself that I would take my guitar everywhere that I could and volunteer and try to play songs that people knew, the troops knew. And I would do like these parody songs, and I'd be like, he's walking down the road in his combat boots. And I'd get someone to laugh. And so for me, music and comedy were very natural, as far as parody. Like, I never really liked, when I was in the military or otherwise, before or after the military, before, during, or after, I didn't like Weird Al Yankovic, but I respect him, and he's a multi-instrumentalist. I'd love to jam with him one day. I just didn't really care for his music, but he taught me a lot, So did Frank Zappa, both of them. Even Primus, it's like, does comedy belong in music? A lot of people say no, it's kind of heresy, but I think that it really matters. It really does matter. And I want to keep this lesson about 15 minutes, so I'm going to end this in about 30 seconds, but try the open tuning. So cool. All right, come here. committed musicians. Peace out. Love you guys. Stay musical.